Great, so we can go ahead and get started today. Once again, welcome. I see we have people joining us from all over the world, which is wonderful. So welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's great to see so many people joining us here today. Um, my name is Cole Simcoe, supporting YP2LE and YouthLead on our event side. Really briefly, I'd also like to go over our agenda today. So we'll start off with just a welcome, kind of an overview of the mentorship program. So we'll have a little introduction to the session there, and then we'll kind of move directly into our panel discussion with all of our panelists for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then we'll move into the Q&A, which will give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions from our panelists today. So with that, I'd like to kick us off and introduce my colleague Danya to the stage.
Thanks, Cole. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone from wherever you're joining us from. Welcome. As Cole said, my name is Danya Fawaz, and I am the Senior Specialist of Youth Development at Making Sense International, and I work on Youth Power 2 learning and evaluation. So thank you all so much for making the time to be with us for our second learning event as part of our YouthLead Mentorship initiative. So today we have a dynamic panel on mentorship across cultures, where we'll be talking about navigating cultural differences and building strong cross-cultural connections within mentoring relationships. And this event is in partnership with one of our sponsors, Palladium, and I'd like to extend a special thank you to Rebecca Barbary for working hard to bring together a diverse group of youth to speak to this important topic. And she'll be sharing a little bit about that in a moment. But just thinking about our YouthLead Mentorship initiative, one of our goals is to support individuals interested in and involved in all aspects of mentorship. And in line with positive youth development, or PYD's approach, we know that healthy mentoring relationships can be transformative, and they can be enriching for both mentors and mentees, and for both professional and personal development. And you may find yourself paired with a mentor or a mentee who is of a different race, gender, cultural background, or nationality, or any other differing identities from you, and therefore be facing different opportunities and different constraints from you as well. And these differences really open up a potential space for mutual learning and growth, but can also pose some potential obstacles. And we'll be exploring this complicated and rich landscape of relationships in our discussion with our four panelists who have personal and/or professional experiences in cross-cultural mentorship and have identified potential areas to strengthen mentorship knowledge and practices. So through your participation in this event, we really hope that you will gain some key insights into pathways to healthy cross-cultural mentoring, and that you'll be encouraged to reflect on your mentorship relationships, whether you are personally engaged in them or if you work on a program or you design programs with mentoring. So before we dive into this discussion, I would like to pass the mic over to Rebecca Barbary from Palladium to share more about the background and how this group of panelists really came together. So Rebecca, if you're ready, I'll pass it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Danya. So as Danya said, I'm Rebecca Barbary, and I'm manager of the Youth and Workforce Development portfolio at Palladium. And I wanted to share a little bit of the background of how this group of panelists came to be here today. So I work with a lot of our different teams and youth leaders across Palladium, and I kept hearing these wonderful stories of both formal and informal mentorship between young leaders from different backgrounds. And at the same time, we heard from Danya and the youth champions at YouthLead that mentorship, and particularly mentorship across cultures, was a topic of particular interest for youth. So we thought it'd be wonderful to have the opportunity to share Palladium stories of mentorship more broadly with this audience here today. So our panelists today are from 3 different Palladium projects: the Future Growth Initiative in Kyrgyzstan, the Challenge Fund for Youth Employment, which works globally, and the Health Education Policy Plus project in Guatemala. I want to personally say thank you for our panelists coming today and sharing their stories, and I hope you all enjoy the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. So before we move into introducing our panelists, I would like to invite you all to share what motivated you to take some time to join us here today. And if you're actually involved in a mentoring relationship, please do feel free to share there as well. and that can be done just in the chat as we're going through this conversation. We really want you to be engaged as active listeners, and in about 30 minutes or so, we'll open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask specific questions that you've been thinking about, or make a comment or connect to one of the experiences that our panelists share. So with that, let me turn it over to the reason you're all here, our dynamic panel. And instead of going through and introducing each of them to you, we're actually going to do this a bit differently, and I'm going to invite them to introduce themselves. So we'll start off with Nuradil. Nuradil, could you come on camera and introduce yourself a bit and give us a bit of some background on your experience with mentorship?
Sure. Can you see me? Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here today and share with you my experience on cross-cultural mentorship, thanks to this YouthLead platform. Well, a couple of words about me. So since 2019, I've been working as a country manager for the international consulting company, Palladium International, on implementing the USAID's project, Future Growth Initiative project in Central Asia. So currently I am based in Bishkek, which is the capital of the Kyrgyz Republic. And in a nutshell, our project aims at providing technical expertise to the private sector to unlock their potential and ensure their sustainable growth. So more specifically, we provide digital transformation, organizational transformation, market expansion, and investment facilitation, other services as well. So besides of my main job, I also devote my time to social activities. So I was a member of a professional business club called ProKG, which unites professionals, young professionals who wish to inspire and guide young leaders. So within this business club, I was paired with a young lady who was completing her bachelor's degree in management to help her with her plans for the future, her career plans for the future. So thus, for the first time, I became a mentor with a formal mentor-mentee type of relationship. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nuradil. I'm so excited to continue the discussion and learn more about that relationship. But for now, I would like to move on to a mentor-mentee pair that we actually have on our panel here today, Umar and Yo. Could you come on camera? Starting with Umar, please do introduce yourself, and then you can hand it over to your mentor, Yo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Umar Abdullahi. I am from Nigeria, the northern part of Nigeria. I am one of the youth champions for Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. I have been working with the CFYE in the area of amplifying youth voice in decent engagement and decent employment. And this mentorship session has been an amazing opportunity for me. And this is the first time that I've been paired up with a more learned individual that will guide me to set some certain goals that I wanted to achieve for a particular period of time. I am happy to be here to share my experience with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Umar. Over to you, Yo.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for the invitation to speak at this event about cross-cultural mentorship. So my name is Jo Dekkers, officially Yolanda. I have more than 30 years of work experience, and today I represent the mentor's role. So I'm the mentor of Umar. Professionally, I work for RiseMore. That's a global division of the Randstad Group. And I'm a certified coach and talent as well as career development advisor. So I do a lot of coachings and I give a lot of workshops on different topics. This is my first experience with cross-cultural mentorship, and I love it. I always wanted to join this kind of program. And but especially for an assignment for a couple of months out of the country, because I also like to travel and enrich my life by learning from other people in different cultures. But for some reason, it never happened until last year. So the offer from VSO, in this case, the organization who works with Randstad, was virtual. So it was for me the right tool at the right moment. And I took my chance.
Thank you for sharing. And finally, I would like to turn it over to our fourth panelist, Alejandra. Alejandra, are you able to come on camera and share and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Dania. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Alejandra Televario, and I am from Quetzaltenango, Guatemala. I'm 21 years old, and I am a current student of international relations. I am also the president of the Young Artists for Social Justice organization. And also I want to mention that I was a YouthLead ambassador on 2019 and also a peer advisor for the cohort of 2020 as well. So yeah, I can say that my experience with mentorship is focused on provide support to youth in a local, national, and global level. So I'm so happy and glad to share my experiences with you all. And yeah, I hope we can learn each other about all of this we are going to be discussing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandra, and thank you all for those introductions. As you can all see, we have an incredible panel with such diverse experiences. And so now I'd like to kind of start off our discussion with setting the scene and hearing more about your mentorship stories and journeys. And so starting with the mentor-mentee pair that we have here today, Umar and Yo, could you share more about your relationship and the process to meeting each other, how you met one another, and your cultural backgrounds and how that's come into play within your relationship? And we can start with Umar and then go to you. So Umar, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I was fed with you when I applied for the mentorship session through VSO, an organization that I work with. And I put on my interests and the areas that I want to develop myself in. And luckily for me, I was paired up with a mentor who has also an interest in coaching and training young people like myself. And the experience has been indeed amazing one for me, because since we met, I have developed myself in a better way, especially in the area of my confidence and self-esteem, as well as also the area of communication. I can be able to catch off and network with different kind of people, not only from my own ethnic group or from my area, but I have been guided on how to interact with people of different level. And the mentorship indeed has been very nice. There are a lot of differences from my culture and her culture, because we tend to understand each other. I am from the northern part of Nigeria. The cultures are more different from how the cultures are there in Europe from her side, and also how we do things here are more different. But luckily for me, we have a common language of speaking, which is why we are communicating. And I have been learning a lot from her experience, and she was also getting to know things from my area and also my community. Thank you.
Thanks, Umar, for sharing a little bit of how that richness comes to play, how we start learning about one another. Over to you, Yo. Would you like to kind of supplement what Umar said by sharing more of, how your relationship came to be?
Mm-hmm. Yes, like Umar said, we were paired together through Randstad's VSO mentor program. And we still meet virtually every 2 weeks until now. So until now, so far, for me, it's a great experience. It's an opportunity for both of us, for Umar and myself, to develop ourselves personally and professionally. It has helped me until now, especially to develop my agility in terms of working and connecting virtually with Umar, who's from a totally different culture and background. So I live and work in Belgium, but as I said, I travel a lot in different continents, but Nigeria was a totally unknown spot for me until I met Umar. So we started, my process is like I started to apply to become a mentor. And then we had a selection. And after that, we were invited to a global kickoff session. After that, we had to go through an online certification program, and we fill out a personal list to be matched with my mentee, with Umar. And it's a unique match because yeah, we have a good connection, like Umar already said. Also, we can rely on an online platform during the whole program. It has a lot of helpful information besides the individual sessions we plan together ourselves. So, and before and after each session, we reflect individually on the goals and the tasks. So our sessions are very result and goal orientated, thanks to Umar's will to develop. And we very quickly found a way to work together that works for both of us.
Thank you both for sharing. We'll come back to you both in just a moment to go deeper into, you know, those key moments that both of you have been learning from, and also maybe some challenges that you've had to overcome along the way. But for now, I'd like to invite Nouradil back to speak about your experience. I know you started sharing a little bit about who you were mentoring, but could you tell us more about, you know, the relationship, how you met them, and what that process was like?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, so we met with each other within this business club, Pro KG. So my mentee applied for this club's leadership program to find a mentor among the members of the business club to help her develop a career plan. So she was lucky to pass through a rather large competition. She was selected among 50 mentees out of 1,000 people. And yeah, so we actually started by discussing her background, her challenges, goals, and I found out that we have rather different background, even though we are from the same country. To set the background, our country is a small one of 200,000 square kilometers and of 6 million of people. But since she's from southern part of the country, and I am from the northern part, we have some differences in our background, in our culture. So in the south part of the country, most of the people speak mainly Kyrgyz language, while in the northern part, we prefer to speak Russian or sometimes English. But I was really surprised when I learned that she is fluent in English as well. So we decided to continue, to speak English or Kyrgyz languages in our future communication. Yeah, it was our first kind of common point that helped us to find this feeling. And since I was aware that the main, principle of mentoring is not to give uninvited advices, and that the mentor should not try to solve the problem, but the role of the mentor is rather to ask the right questions. I didn't challenge her during the first meeting. I just let her speak about her background, her challenges, dreams, and so I was not trying to give her any advice at the first meeting. And I think this approach helped a lot me to define my understanding of her, challenges, of your dreams, so that I can later on provide some advice. So I learned that she spent most of her childhood and childhood in the village where she was from, and she tried to learn hard English so that she could attend the university abroad. But unfortunately, she wasn't able to study abroad. But she was lucky to got a scholarship, full scholarship at the American University of Central Asia, which is the one of the most leading universities in our country. So together we set up a plan. We identified her main strong skills, and we draft a 6 months plan with the milestones. Actually, this 6 months plan was set up by our leadership program. Yeah, so in this plan, we identified your professional and personal goals for 5 years. And we also identified key steps for 6 months. So in this time frame, she had to show tangible results. And I think I was lucky to have her, and actually we managed to show key results that I can share later on in future discussion. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Nuradel. As we can see, you know, cross-cultural can mean very different things. They can mean from different countries, from different continents, as with the case of Umar and Yo, or within the same country, within different parts of the same country. I'd like to turn it over to Alejandra. Alejandra, could you tell us about a cross-cultural mentorship that you have been a part of? And you can choose either as a mentor or a mentee, and just tell us a little bit about that experience in just a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dania. Yeah, I think I will work in both experiences. I can share, for example, the projects we implement in my organization that carries out activities based on art and social justice. So we consider these two factors as a tool for change. We create youth capacity building spaces. For example, we have done comic and drawing workshops focused on prevention of gender-based violence, the creation of home gardens, poetry about migration. So you can see we mixed art and a topic that is specific focus on youth. And yeah, I think that for each one of these, we have different young people that are experts in this. So basically they become mentors or facilitators that in a comprehensive way, they guide these processes. One thing that is very interesting about it is that the groups of young people who participate in these activities are made up of young men and women, people from rural and urban communities, people who identify themselves as indigenous, and also some of them that study in high school and other in university. So as we can see, this diversity is very meaningful because the network is made up of around 500 young people from 6 different regions of Guatemala. And yeah, I think that this makes the representation of territories richer, and also this allows us to provide support to young people to seek and strengthen their leadership through art. And briefly, I can share as well my experience as a YouthLead ambassador, and also because I was part of the first group of peer advisors for the 2020 cohort, right? This allowed me to share some recommendation of things that I consider that my colleagues could implement and improve, and that for me meant a lesson learned. And also, these two experiences in particular made me realize that we all have different ways of teaching and learning, and that are strongly related and influenced by the cultural values we receive from our context. And yeah, so I think we as young people who are in diverse of characteristics, we are in a constant exploration of what we want to do during our lives. So in this case, we are trying to look for different opportunities to learn everything we need to achieve our goals. So as we can see in these two examples I share with you, we are trying to opening spaces that consider identities, needs, and demands of our generations and adapt the necessary tools to generate this knowledge and positive youth development that I think there are two important values we are considering in all of these programs. So yeah, I think that are the experiences I can share. Thank you.
Yeah. While I have you here, Alejandra, if you could just stay on camera. It's very interesting how you described, cultural values and experiences influence the way we learn, influence the way we relate, influence the way we connect to others. And one of the critical parts of mentoring relationships is that connection, is that relationship. So if we could just dive deeper into, your experiences with cross-cultural mentorship, can you share something that surprised you, that you didn't expect before going into cross-cultural mentorship or working on the program that involves that? Maybe you can highlight some potential challenges and how those can be overcome, or just some key lessons learned. That would be great. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, Dania. I think this is nothing new, but I think surprised me the most in the last 2 years. And is that we are using more the social media and networks and also digital tools to promote this mentorship, relationship, and support spaces for young people. I share this because in my case, since March 2020, since the beginning of the pandemic, that definitely changed our lifestyle. I had to learn how to use different tools and resources to get in line and to getting involved with the new things and the new relationships we were having as young people. So for example, I had to learn how to host a Zoom meeting. I had to learn how to generate Google Forms, how to use Drive, for example, and also how to learn different platforms from generate word of cloud words or different quizzes, for example, just to make more dynamic this type of encounters with young people. So yeah, this was not only a helpful way for me to get the information I was needing in that moment, but also allowed me to share this knowledge with more young people that I know from my networks were very meaningful to know. So yeah, also I think is something very, very impressive that we as young people, if we are seeking a new information and if we want to learn something new, we definitely need to surf into the online space. We will find millions of resources and spaces to get to know different people that can provide us help, that can provide us the information. And yeah, I think the connection that we are currently having, it doesn't matter where we are, we will always find support in different type of people. So I think that diversity makes us feel more comfortable, also makes us feel very support at some point. Yeah, if in this kind of relationships, it's very important to note that despite these distances and differences that may exist in cultural, language, and context, we will find similarities in problems, needs, and inequalities. That was something that I have learned during these last 2 years. And yeah, this can also makes us feel more secure and sure what the work of we are doing at some point, because we can also have more comprehensive values and try to share our empathy and solidarity between all the problematics we are facing right now in the world as young people. So yeah, I think that are the two impressions I can have by these relationships.
Thank you for sharing, Alejandra. I think we could spend hours just unpacking what you've just, covered in a few minutes around. Specifically, what stood out to me was, the similarities that do occur even when we cross, cultural boundaries, and even when we are interacting, and how that can really create such a richness in experience and in learning. I'd like to turn it over here to Nuradil, because I know, Nuradil, your mentoring relationship was also within the same country, but across, different regions. What's something that surprised you? And maybe if you could share a couple of challenges you faced and how you were able to overcome these as a pair in your mentorship relationship.
Yeah, I think first of all, I was surprised by the differences in our perception of life, which to my mind is caused by the difference in age. The difference is about 15 years. the gender difference, obviously, and as I previously said, difference in cultural background. So by perception of life, I mean the attitude to starting a family, choosing a partner, to accumulating wealth, money in general, to choose a profession, and learning, etc. So unlike me, she clearly decided that she would not start a family until she had saved enough money to buy a home, a real estate, a car, and decide about her career. At the same time, she knew that she would not marry in 7 years until she turned 30 years old. So this is something that surprised me, since I was not educated in that way. So I was surprised by her willingness, to establish financially, to have this financial freedom, and yeah. So I was also surprised by her readiness, willingness to pivot her career depending on the market trends. I think this would require her to develop constantly her skills and be constantly out of her comfort zone, which is also something that surprised me, since our generation Y, seeks always the comfort zone, and the new generation, which she belongs to, tries to to get out from the comfort zone, to have these new feelings, experiences. Well, I think I learned a lot from my mentee as well. I learned to see things differently, from different perspectives, as different challenges, different challenges, shape the person in different way. And so thanks to our mentorship program, I think I managed to revise as well my goals. And now I try to adapt my attitude and try to to really focus on the challenges of the new generation, in order to provide better fit solutions. This is translated in my work when we work with our partners, with the young generation entrepreneurs. I think I managed to understand a little bit better thanks to this mentorship program. Yeah, so this is a nutshell of the challenges that we faced during our partnership.
Thank you, Nuradil. I know that it's probably more than you can cover in a few minutes, but something really interesting that you brought up, around the generational gap and how that really can also come into it. And your answer to an earlier question around not making assumptions, but taking moments to really ask questions and learn about the other person is such a key component of entering into a trusting relationship. Umar and Yo, over to you. Since we have both of you here and we get to see both sides of the mentoring relationship and both perspectives, starting with Umar, could you share from your perspective maybe something that surprised you or some challenges that you faced as a mentee entering into this relationship?
Okay, thank you so much. I think, first of all, what surprised me most is my mentor being a more learned and more experienced person has become more friendly to me and give me an open space where I can make decisions for myself, and also decided the way I wanted to achieve the goals under her guidance. I find it a bit more surprising and very interesting, because I was thinking that probably it might be a schedules that I have to follow, but rather it becomes the opposite, that I myself know myself better, and I know what I wanted to achieve. So that one's the first surprise, because I take the lead of basically almost every goal that I wanted to achieve. I am the one who designed it, and also with our guides, I try to follow the ways that I feel like I can achieve them in a better way. And also the way she guide me in a more friendly way, I really appreciate it, because I never expect that it will be much easier for me, but the space has been more easy and more guiding, and she has been giving me a lot of references. I set the goals that I want to perfect myself in the area of my weaknesses, and the way we are proceeding and the way we are achieving them, honestly, I feel very happy. And every time after every session, I feel like I am more energized and more equipped with what I wanted to achieve. And in terms of challenges, I think so far I have not faced any serious challenge, except for, I think, once that I mistaken the time for the session due to difference in time zone. But that was also something that we have already rectified, and it has become experience for me. And it's something that I have to know, that whenever you are interacting with people from other part of the world, you have to be cautious of time, because probably you might be in different time zone. I think that was the only biggest challenge that we faced, but we have already solved that one, and it is going very fine and very perfect for us now.
Over to you, Yo. From a mentor's perspective, maybe you could give us some insights into some potential challenges you face and how you've overcome them.
I want to thank Umar for these nice words already, because I have the same experience. For me, the biggest surprise is and was from the beginning that it works so easy to build a relationship with someone you don't know before, who's from the other side of the world, who is 25 years younger, who is from different gender, and that on topics that really matter and that are for Umar life-changing. But therefore, you need organizations like these who facilitate these kind of programs. So once you have that, it's very easy to build this kind of relationships. Now, the biggest challenge that I noticed in the beginning was the internet connection. So we found a way now that we have good understanding through Google Meet. Because it's not always stable on both sides, and what Umar already said, the time difference. But another challenge for me was some cultural topics, because before we were taught or teach like, don't ask anything about religion, don't ask anything about topics. But my experience is that we can talk about everything. For example, sometimes I see Umar in his dress code at work. Sometimes I see him in his dress code when he's free in his free time, and it's totally different. And I'm asking about things, but also about religion. We talked last time also about everything we can talk about. And most surprising for me was the difference in culture about talking with people who are older or who have more experience. And that was for me something surprising. So it was nice that he was very curious and open to talk about these topics. And I learned a lot from him as well. So I didn't feel any barrier from my side. And I always let Umar decide on what he wants to talk about. I always follow his agenda and I let him make his own decisions. So my role is to guide and to challenge him.
Thank you both for those really beautiful and insightful answers. Hearing how important and normalized it is to actually talk about culture and share the different parts of your identity and different parts of your experiences with others and within these relationships can really help build those connections and build that understanding. And I believe it was Alejandra who mentioned, building empathy and solidarity with one another can really happen when we are open about, who we are and what we're bringing into this space. I'm just being aware of time, and we want to turn it over to the audience to take some questions. And so there's one question that maybe I'll pose to Nuradil. Nuradil, someone from the audience has asked, what challenges did you face in maintaining your relationship? And I think that really touches on, our earlier questions around challenges that you faced, but really focusing on keeping the relationship alive for the full 6 months that you were together. Could you share also some external challenges that are associated with these types of mentor and mentee relationships? So Nuradil, if you wouldn't mind just speaking to this question.
Yeah, during our mentorship program, we faced a couple of challenges. Some of them is the fact that we were not always at the same place. She went to Turkey to save some money for her study, and while she was abroad and I was in Bishkek, we of course we used the existing tools like Zoom, WhatsApp, Telegram. And I wouldn't say that those type of challenges were something crucial in maintaining of our efficient relationship, but that was something that we have to bear, have to adapt. And I discovered that the new generation was more able to adopt new technologies, and it wasn't an issue for her, for sure. It was an issue for me because I prefer to have a person offline, to chat with a person in person, but for her it wasn't definitely an issue. Other issue maybe was the fact that I was very busy with my main job, and so I wasn't always able to reply to your inquiries, to your questions. But since I had commitments, I decided that I need to put here the meetings in my agenda, so that not to try to avoid the meetings. And well, yeah, those were some challenges that we faced, but thanks to the existing platform solutions, they were not a crucial one. Yeah, and so we keep maintaining our relationship after the mentorship program, since I really keen to know to learn more about your career achievements, and this is something that helps me to define my future mentorship program, since I want to continue to serve as a mentor to other people, maybe in the informal way. So yeah.
Thanks for answering. And we do see the issues around technology, and also we hear a bit of that generational gap right there, Nuradil, right? And comfort with using technology and comfort connecting online versus connecting in person. So thank you so much. The next question I have here from our audience is for Alejandra. Alejandra, I know that you spoke a little bit about needing to learn about these online platforms, needing to kind of go online after the onset of COVID. And so this question, it says, what value do online mentoring platforms add? And do they help expand access and multiply the impact of mentors? And then the last part of it is, in what ways do they inhibit successful mentorship? So we're looking at online platforms, how they open up and how they inhibit. And I think that also ties into what Nuradil just said.
Sure. Thank you, Danny. Thanks to the person that makes this question. Yeah, I think it's something very interesting because as I shared, we are definitely engaged into a digital area. And we definitely need to get our information through these platforms. But at some point, sometimes it's not useful at all. So we can see that we have different gaps and different challenges we need to face, and we need to try to provide different solutions to these issues we may encounter, right? But yeah, I think that one of the values we can have, and I will insist in that, is empathy. Because if I live, for example, in my case, if I live in Guatemala, I can understand what is happening in Mexico, for example, or what is happening all over the world in different countries, different regions. Because, for example, I had the chance to be a mentor of a youth ambassador from South Africa. So you can imagine the difference of context, culture, and different things. But yeah, I think that we understand better what is happening in their context, what is happening in my context, and we can contrast and we can see how we can help each other by spread the word of the different social issues we are living in our realities. And of course, use social media. Something that I consider very important as well in these values is that we can also have some advocate processes related to our digital rights and this digital citizenship that at some point we have created in the last years. So yeah, I think that are the most important things that we can consider by using these platforms. And I think that one of the main points that may inhibit successful mentorship is that, for example, we may face gaps in language, in time zones, as Yumar shared. And yeah, I think there are different things that we may encounter by learning how to use these platforms. But at some point, it's very, very meaningful to use these tools in a positive way and try to learn more each day about this.
Thank you, Alejandra. We have a question for Umar and Yo, and I know that you probably already touched on this briefly earlier, but could you expand on how you set goals and targets to help them, how you as a pair set these goals and targets to help Umar? I know that you said that Umar was in charge of setting his targets, but maybe you could give our audience more insight into how that dynamic played out. Either Yo or Umar, would you like to take on this question?
You want to speak first, Umar, or?
You go for it, yeah.
Okay, so before we met, I asked Umar already what's his achievement, what does he want to achieve at the end of this program. And I always ask him to think about those things, and he puts all those things on email. So always before a session, I ask, what do you want to do during this session, but what is the goal at the end of the program? And we always see if this session is working towards his goals. Umar has a lot of different things he wants to achieve, practical and also other goals, like networking or more personal things he wants to talk about. But yeah, we are always very accurate on the goal and what do you want to talk about now, and how is this related to the goals you want to achieve at the end. So yeah, maybe you are both very result and goal orientated, and I think they made a good match through the program. And for me, it's if I hear other mentors, because we have like intervision sessions with other mentors, if I hear their stories, they are working harder because they are not that goal orientated. And for me, if I do a coaching or mentorship, it's for me the same. My coachee or my mentee is the one who has a question, and I can help to formulate the goal and to make it more specific and to make it more clear. But from that on, I guide the process. I don't guide the content. And that's the big difference. And I have to be always in that role to watch if the process is going well towards his goals, because we also have a few sessions, but I already know we will have more sessions because we have to talk about so many things. So yeah, but that's, for me, it's really important. It's not having just a chat, or maybe if the mentee is asking for that, just to have an ear to listen to the story, then it's okay. But I always dive deeper to ask at the end, what do you want to achieve? So the time is well spent for both of us. Yeah.
Thank
I give the word to Umar.
Yes, thank you for that. And for very clearly outlining your approach as a mentor. Umar, from a mentee's perspective, how do you feel about that approach? How does that approach work for you?
I think I appreciate how we came to set up the goals. First of all, she allowed me to look at myself, think of my areas of weakness and the areas that I want to develop myself better. After looking at myself critically and think, then I come up with goals that I wanted to achieve, and also set off the time that I want to achieve such goals within them. So that was the first and the key toward the success. And each time when we are going to have a particular session, we look at one of the goals and see what we want to achieve after the session. Then she will be guiding me on how do I see the goal and how am I thinking and the way I think I can achieve that goal. This how she has been helping me and how I have been guided. For now, I can say that there are a lot of goals that I have said. As she said, I have many of them, but with the help of her help, I think I can able to narrow them and shape them in such a way that it can be in an arranging way or in hierarchical way, one after another, so that at the end of the day, we will achieve the target goal. Even before this program, I can say that actually I don't have any professional career goal that I have at hand. But with the help now, I am thinking in one direction. I have a goal that I wanted to achieve for a longer period of time and also develop a career into that. So that is another thing that I find from this. So I think the sharing is very nice, I think, and also the approach she is given toward achieving the goals is very interesting one. That is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Umar. And I cannot believe we are already 2 minutes out from the end of this event. It's already been an hour conversation, and I feel like we could speak for 3 or 4 more hours on this to really dive in and answer all of your questions. I know we weren't able to get to all of them, but we do encourage you to visit our YouthLead Mentorship Initiative page that I know my colleague Cole has shared in the chat for more resources on mentorship and to continue the conversation, as I know that we have a discussion group where you can ask some questions and get a chance to discuss with your peers about mentorship, about tips to find a mentor, programs for mentorship, and anything else that you need on mentorship. So we really do appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. Please do join me in thanking our incredible panel for engaging in this discussion and being with us this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And now to close out, I would like to hand it over to my colleague Cole for some final words. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Danya. I want to say really quickly, there was tons of great questions and there was lots of good chat going on. So I want to keep that going. And I want to direct a lot of us back to, as Danya was saying, back to the YouthLead Mentorship page. There's a discussion group there. We've been trying to share some of those links in the chat for different programs that were spoken about today, but we can also continue the discussion there. So please do feel free to share your feedback with us via email, and let us know what other topics are important to you as we continue this event series. But I really want to drive home, like, please join the discussion group, help connect each other. We all have resources to share, and that is the perfect place to do it. And join us for future learning events. We have more of these events in this mentorship series upcoming. But with that, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. It's been a wonderful discussion and a wonderful event. So I will leave the room open for just a minute more, but it was great to see everyone, and we'll see you next time.